Hello, everybody, and welcome to our presentation today on kicking off 2021 strong with the right sales tools. My name is Dennis Oljai. I'm Vice President of Product Marketing at Dun Bradstreet, and I'm joined by my colleague Phil McQuaid, who is Vice President of Product Management at Dun Bradstreet for our DNB Hoovers product. I'm really pleased to have you all with us today. I'm going to go through a brief agenda of what we're going to be covering today, and then I'm going to transition it over to a couple of slides which give you some actionable pieces of advice on how to tackle 2021 strong, backed by some of the data that we've collected on how customers are engaging differently pre-pandemic versus post-pandemic, as well as some outside-in research from McKinsey. And then I'm going to transition it over to Phil McQuaid, who will go through a couple of key enhancements we've made to the DNB Hoovers product over this past year to help you sell better in 2021. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and get started. This announcement from Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella struck a chord with me, and I'm sure many of you have seen this in the news over the course of 2020. So I wanted to kick off with this and just say that the amount of transformation that we've seen as a result of the coronavirus pandemic has been incredible, and the impact on sales and your interactions with your buyers and how you're securing meetings and opportunities cannot be understated. So if you're doing things the same way that you've been doing them pre-pandemic as opposed to post-pandemic, you need to take another look on how you can ensure success in this new world that we live in. And we wanted to kick off the presentation with some actionable pieces of advice to help you in this new world that we live in. According to McKinsey, who surveyed about 3,600 business professionals right around the coronavirus pandemic, digital enabled sales interactions are incredibly important, and more important now that this transformation has taken place. So if you take a look at your screen for the period before COVID-19, you're sort of seeing an equal representation of traditional versus digital enabled sales interactions and the relative importance in terms of engaging buyers. But look at the shift post-pandemic, right? You're seeing almost a doubling of digital enabled sales interactions being important in terms of engaging customers and how they want to be engaged. So taking some of these data points in mind, in addition to some additional ones that I'll share with you in terms of what DNB has collected, I want to summarize three succinct and easy to take away best practices to improve your sales success in 2021. First one is being timely and being persistent, right? So in a typical year, if we look at research from sales consulting firm Rain Group, it takes an average of about 8 touches to reach a prospect, right? Sometimes it's less, sometimes it's more, but we expect that to go up significantly in this new world that we live in, right? So expect that to go up to 12 or more in the year that we've had and going into 2021. So don't give up, but remember that it's about both persistence, but also relevance of the interaction that you have with your customer, right? You can't just repeat the same message over and over and again, expect a response. You have to reach out at the right time, and you have to reach out with a message that provides value to your customer. We also at Dun Bradstreet run a lot of email campaigns on behalf of our customers. We also run ad campaigns on behalf of our customers. I wanted to share some data that we collected over the course of 2019 and 2020 and show you some differences in when customers and prospects are actually engaging and opening emails and also engaging in social as a way to help you sell better by reaching out to your prospects at the right time. So data collected from about 7,000 email campaigns that we've run on behalf of customers in 2019 and 2020. And again, this represents about millions and millions of emails that we've sent on behalf of customers, and about 500 Facebook campaigns that we've ran for ad campaigns, suggest that peak email open rates are shifting to about be an hour earlier from 2019 as opposed to 2020, right? So if you look at the 2019 graphic, peak email open rates are around 11 a.m. and that has shifted an hour back to be about 10 a.m. And same thing we're observing on the Facebook side as well. So social engagement seems to be peaking a little bit later in the day, obviously, right? So after you're done at work, it used to be around 10 p.m. was the peak engagement rate that we saw, and that has shifted back to 9 p.m. So we're seeing buyers get an earlier start to their day. engage with email earlier in the day. So the sooner that you're able to reach out to your prospect in the day, the better. You'll see, the email open rates sort of start around the 7 a.m. timeframe. So reach out to your prospects early, be first in their inbox before their meeting cadence kicks off and they're sort of distracted, to get your message heard from your audience. So engage early and be persistent is my message to all of you as you head off into this new year. Second piece of advice is re-diagnosing the problem often, right? So in this turbulent and crazy year that we've had, there's a lot of change. So the companies are not necessarily sticking to the same priorities that they might have expressed to you in your needs discovery conversations from one week to the next. So, a simple question that you can kick off your meetings with your prospect with is asking them a broad open-ended question, right? So walking your needs discovery back and saying, I know it's been a while since we last spoke, but what's changed in your organization that may impact the solution that we're working on together? Just wanted to confirm that we're still on the same page and nothing big has changed in terms of priority, right? A very simple question. You may more often than not just get a response that says, no, nothing really has changed. But it's a good one to ask to make sure that nothing big has come on their priority list that you weren't aware of, right? And the reason I think this is really important in this new year that we're in is based on some of the data that we've collected on pipelines that we've analyzed on behalf of our customers. So throughout 2020, we took a look at the health of our customers' pipelines. So this represents millions and millions of accounts across ultimately 320 pipelines that we analyzed across the course of 2020. So back in May, we took a look at about 125 pipelines of our customers. And on average, about 21% of the accounts in those pipelines were impacted by the coronavirus pandemic and were showing signals of financial distress, and with the potential of those companies actually eventually going out of business or being delinquent on their payment obligations to their suppliers and their vendors, right? And when we took a look at that data again in Q4 around the November timeframe, that risk of accounts in that pipeline went up to about 37%. So the risk profile had actually gone up about 76% from Q2 to Q4. So what does this mean for you? There are more accounts in your customers' pipelines that and in your own pipelines that are exhibiting signs of financial stress, that are being impacted by the coronavirus pandemic negatively. And ultimately, there's a lot of shifting priorities and things are changing rapidly, right? And customers and your prospects are reacting to this change and their priorities might be changing. So it's really important for you to walk back your needs discovery, make sure you're double checking, triple checking that the solution that you're crafting and the needs that you've uncovered are still relevant. So this is a really important change from prior years where risk wasn't really considered as much of a factor. But coming out of this big change and this big impact we've had this year, it's really important to factor in risk as a way to analyze your customers' needs. And we've also released some new features in the DNB Hoovers product, which Phil McQuaid will walk through later in the demonstration portion of this presentation to help you find companies that have been either positively or negatively impacted by the coronavirus pandemic. And third, knowledge is power. So stay informed, right? So in this new digital enabled world that we live in, which is accelerated drastically as a result of the pandemic, news, trigger events, digital signals surrounding your key accounts can really be the difference between winning or losing. So it's really important that you stay on top of that and set the right filters and set the right, engagement mechanisms to, reach out to your customers and prospects when it matters most. And we've released a couple of new features and enhancements in the product throughout the course of the year, as well as making some substantial improvements to the data that's powering our DNB Hoovers platform. So over the course of 2020, we've increased our global company coverage by about 23%. We've increased the number of contacts with an email by 57%. And we've also added a substantial amount of URLs and the capability for you to search based on a company's domain to build a list of prospects. And we've added about 60% more URLs to the DNB Hoovers platform. So we've made some substantial improvements in our data, and we've also added some new capabilities for you to pinpoint your best targets based on employee and sales reliability codes. So you can tell the difference between what's actual, what's modeled, to help you build a list based on employee size and sales size. We've added new sales triggers to help you reach out at this at a precise moment in time where a customer might be, ISO certified. They may have impacted by, a fire or another disaster. They might have undergone a corporate name change, or they might be mentioned in the news about, being impacted by the coronavirus pandemic. These are just to name a few new triggers that we've added this year. We've also added the COVID-19 Impact Index, which again takes a look at accounts in terms of financial impact, in terms of location impact. Are they being restricted in terms of movement, or people being outdoors? Are there curfews in the region where they're located? And also their industry level impact, right? So how is hiring going? How is the sort of trajectory of that industry going in terms of coronavirus impact? So we can filter on all these different attributes to pinpoint your best targets and how they're being impacted by the pandemic. We've also added buyer intent as a capability in the platform. So now you can find prospects that are searching content, that are browsing the web relative to keywords around your products and services. So you can actually reach out, early in the buying cycle and get into your prospects, inboxes and set meetings with them at a time that matters most to them. And also, we've released a new Microsoft Outlook integration. So if you're using Outlook for sending and receiving emails and doing prospecting, we have a new widget called Email IQ, which allows you to access, the depth of DNB intelligence that we provide, in addition to having a simple way to port over to your Hoover subscription if you are a Hoover subscriber. So this is a free plugin. If you go to dnb.com/emailiq, you can download it today. It's both for users that have Hoovers, but if you're currently not a Hoover subscriber, you can also take advantage of this offering. It'll help you save time, get information on key firmographic details of the customers and prospects that you're sending and receiving emails with. You can get a list of competitors. You'll get up to 50 free leads and contacts you can download a month. So if you're reaching out to John Smith at Apple, for instance, it will give you relative and related contacts to that buying group that you can get into and help secure meetings with them. So a great tool that's available today. Go check it out if you haven't done so already. So with that, I'm going to transition it over to Phil McQuaid, and we've pre-recorded a demonstration here of some of the key new enhancements that we've made to the portfolio for you to get a deeper dive look at how these work and how they can help you succeed in 2021. So without further ado, I'm going to bring up this recording, and then we'll transition it over to Q&A.
Thank you, Dennis, and welcome to all our attendees today. I appreciate you taking time to join us to learn about tools in DNB Hoovers that will help you have a strong kickoff in 2021. As Dennis mentioned, I'll be walking through a range of new features and data assets that we released in the last year that will help you discover and prioritize your best opportunities. The first item I'd like to demonstrate are sales and employee reliability codes. Sales and employee reliability codes help users quickly determine if an employee or annual sales figure presented in DNB Hoovers is an actual figure sourced from official documents, or if it was modeled, estimated, or further derived by Dun Bradstreet. This insight gives you visibility into the nature of the provided figure that can be used when evaluating and prioritizing opportunities. To kick off the demo, I'll navigate to a company profile. In this case, I'm going to choose a company called WebRoot. The first thing that I'll draw your attention to is the employees this site and employee all sites values on the company record display a circle icon with an A to indicate these are actual values. If I move my cursor over the icon, it reveals a hover that identifies this value as an actual figure. When I view the annual sales figure, you'll notice a tilde icon is available next to the value. If I move my cursor over this icon, it reveals a hover that identifies this figure as modeled. The next place I'll demonstrate the inclusion of employee and sales reliability codes is within Search and Build a List results. To demonstrate this, I'm going to navigate to the Search and Build a List option on the DNB Hoovers menu, and I'll select Companies to begin building a targeted list. To build a targeted list, I'll use my available search filters to target companies that are located in the state of New York, that have more than 100 employees, and more than 10 corporate family members. Once I've successfully entered my criteria, I'll click the View Results button to view the matching companies. You'll notice that within the search cards for companies that match my search criteria, the icons that we saw in the company profile are also available for employees and sales figures. When I hover over the available icons, it reveals text that identifies the value as actual or modeled. The sales and reliability codes that we reviewed are also available as columns when you build a custom grid or table view in the product, and are also available on the DNB Hoovers Quick View if you're using DNB Hoovers within your Salesforce or Microsoft Dynamics CRM. The next set of functionality I'm going to demonstrate focuses on 4 additional trigger types that were added to help users spot possible opportunities and targets in DNB Hoovers. To quickly level set, a trigger is a curated event in DNB Hoovers, usually derived from a news story that provides additional insight into the events that are impacting target accounts and prospects. The first trigger type I'm going to demonstrate is ISO certification. This trigger identifies when a company has achieved or has decided to pursue an ISO certification or accreditation. To show this trigger, I'm going to navigate to a company called Clumio. And once I'm on their company profile, I'll navigate to the Available Triggers icon to open their triggers report. Here we can see an available trigger that identifies Clumio's achieved ISO 27701 certification, which is related to the GDPR privacy standard. To elaborate a little more on this trigger type, ISO certifications are the internationally recognized standards that ensure a company's products or services meet the needs of global markets through an effective quality management system. This trigger type gives you good insight into where a company is investing in gaining key certifications. The next trigger I'm going to demonstrate is fire and other disasters, which raises awareness of companies that have been impacted by a fire and other disasters such as earthquakes, tornadoes, and floods. To provide an example of this trigger type, I'm going to navigate to the company record for Bay District Schools in Panama City, Florida. And I'll navigate to their trigger report. And here I can see an event tied to the recovery efforts from the impact of Hurricane Michael. Next, I'll show the corporate name change trigger, which provides visibility into companies that are currently rebranding or going through a corporate name change. To demonstrate this trigger type, I'll go to Hyatt Hotels. And I'll navigate to their trigger report by clicking on the available trigger icon. And I'm going to scroll down the page just a little bit, and here we can see that Park Central Hotel will be renamed Hyatt Regency San Francisco once an in-progress renovation to the location is complete. The last of the available trigger types I'd like to demonstrate is for a trigger category we've created to provide insight into how companies are being impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. I'm going to leverage this example to show you how you can access triggers in DNB Hoovers using a set of companies you're monitoring in an existing DNB Hoovers list. To do this, I'll navigate to Search and Build a List on the menu bar, and I'll choose the Triggers option. Search and Build a List allows me to access triggers across multiple companies using the available search filters. I'm going to select the coronavirus option from the trigger type filter, and I'll also use the Triggers by List filter option to select an existing DNB Hoovers list. Once I've successfully entered my search criteria, I'll click View Results. And I'm presented with a list of triggers that are related to the coronavirus topic that I selected that also align with the companies that exist in my DNB Hoovers list. At this point in the walkthrough, I'm going to pivot and provide a demonstration of a search filter which can be used to build lists of companies and contacts that share a URL or company domain. To demonstrate this feature, I'll navigate to the Search and Build a List option on the menu bar, and I'm going to choose Companies. And then I'll navigate to the Company Type Filter category, where the company URL filter is located. Searching by company URL can help users uncover related companies or companies that share a brand. The filter can also be helpful when a user only knows the web address of a company or the email domain of a specific contact. In 2020, we saw a 60% increase in available URLs in DNB Hoovers, and this filter is a good way for users to make the most of this increase in data coverage. To provide an example of this filter, I'll search on Ford.com. And once I've successfully entered that search criteria, I'll click View Results. And here I can see a range of companies that share that same Ford.com URL within DNB Hoovers. The next item I'm going to review is the COVID Impact Index, which is a proprietary analytics dataset Dun Bradstreet introduced last year, which provides insight into how the coronavirus pandemic is impacting a company's location, industry, and financial strength. I'm going to start this part of the demonstration by showing how this information is presented for a specific company. I'll do this by navigating to the Applied Materials company record. The COVID Impact Index information is available on the company report, which we can see right here underneath the business description. This data can help you actively monitor the impact of the coronavirus pandemic on accounts and prospects and refine target strategies accordingly. The COVID Impact Index assesses impacts to a company based on location information, Dun & Bradstreet's proprietary credit and risk data, industry unemployment data, and the level of disruption to the company's network due to impacts to site, suppliers, and customers. This two-pronged approach is useful because local conditions can only provide part of the picture. For example, you may have an account in a location that's currently experiencing minimal disruption, but their business operations could be interrupted by a reliance on suppliers located in areas that are being harder hit. By providing insight into this level of impact to both the company and the overall business network, we can help you better understand the challenges the company may be facing. Each week, Dun & Bradstreet assesses the situation of the company and network to assign a score ranging from highest to low to 5 key impact areas that can help you understand the current level of disruption at this organization. Let's take a deeper look at the 5 impact areas and review scores for each. The financial impact area leverages Dun & Bradstreet's industry-leading trade credit and risk data to understand financial health by assessing a company's ability to meet payment obligations as well as the probability of declaring bankruptcy, experiencing major financial distress, engaging in M&A activity, or other high-risk activities. The location impact reviews business site and corporate family locations subject to lockdown, stay-at-home, and shelter-in-place orders, and weighs this information by the number of confirmed cases and growth of cases by location. The industry impact looks at industry impact signals to understand industry-associated risk by identifying businesses that are essential, can operate remotely, require physical presence of customers, and require employees to be at a central location. Overall impact without network effects combines the financial, location, and industry impact indicators to determine the overall risk of the business. Overall impact with network effects reviews business connections with other organizations, such as customers, suppliers, or other third parties to understand impacts to the company's network. This provides the most comprehensive view of the current situation by adding network impacts to the company's financial, location, and industry elements. Each of these areas is assigned a color-coded score that identifies the impact as highest, high, medium, or low, so you can understand conditions from a financial, location, and industry perspective, as well as the overall impact scores for the business with and without network impacts. When I hover over each of the scores assigned to a company, a recommendation is provided that gives me insight into how I might engage with a given target. Hover over each to give you a quick flavor of what that looks like. In addition to how an individual company is impacted by the coronavirus pandemic, I can also use the COVID Impact Index as search criteria when prospecting and building lists of target accounts. To demonstrate how I can leverage the Impact Index as search criteria, I'll navigate to the Search and Build a List form by selecting the company's option from the menu bar. To provide a walkthrough of how I can use the COVID Impact Index when prospecting, I'll use a scenario where I'm located in Massachusetts and sell into companies located in Middlesex County. Middlesex County is one of the initial hotspots for coronavirus, and I know many companies in my patch have been adversely impacted. To begin my search, I'll navigate to the location filter category. I'll open additional fields where the county search filter is located, and I'll enter criteria for Middlesex County, Massachusetts. With the stress many companies are experiencing, I need to focus my efforts on my best possible opportunities. I need to focus on companies that have been insulated from the negative impacts of COVID-19. I want to target companies that will respond affirmatively to engagement and outreach. To help me align with these best opportunities, I'm going to use the new COVID Impact Index filters when building this list in DNB Hoovers. The COVID Impact Index filters are available within the Advanced Insights filter category and are located at the top of the section. Each of these filters aligns with the impact areas and scores we previously reviewed on the Applied Materials Company record. I want to find my best possible opportunities in the target location, so I'm going to apply the low score option under the Financial Impact filter, the Industry Impact filter, the Overall Impact Without Network Effects filter, as well as the Overall Impact with Networks Effects filter. I didn't use the Location Impact filter because I already know that Middlesex County has been adversely impacted by COVID-19. Once I've successfully entered the search criteria, I'll click View Results, where I have a list of companies that match the search criteria I entered. I'll navigate to one of these companies. I'll choose IDC Research. And I can see the COVID Impact Index section aligns with the filters that I chose, where the Financial Impact, Industry Impact, Overall Impact Without Network Effects, and Overall Impact with Network Effects has a low score, and as I anticipated, that Location Impact has that highest score. Once I validated that my search criteria is aligned with the type of companies I'm interested in targeting, as a best practice, I'll create a smart list based on my search criteria. With the smart list, I can create a dynamic list that automatically updates anytime a new opportunity aligns with my target search criteria. In addition to new companies automatically populating within my list, I have the option to receive in-product notifications and email alerts when new opportunities become available. To create a smart list using this criteria, I'll return to my search results by clicking back to Results, and I will click the Save as Smart List button. And I'll provide a name for the new smart list I'm creating. And I will select the Pin to Desktop option so I have quick access to this list anytime I log into DNB Hoovers. I'll also choose to receive notifications for items in this smart list so I get those in-product and email notifications that I referenced. And I'll go ahead and click Add. And it'll take a minute to create my new smart list. And again, anytime a net new company meets the criteria that I've used to build this list, it'll automatically update and notify me within DNB Hoovers. I'm going to conclude my demonstration with a review of DNB Buyer Intent, which introduces the ability to actively prospect, market, and sell smarter by targeting and engaging in-market buyers searching online content specific to your business. DNB Buyer Intent is a paid add-on that gives users the ability to activate personalized intent models within DNB Hoovers to unlock sales intelligence on accounts that are ready to buy. With DNB Buyer Intent, you can prioritize your strongest prospects and engage them early in the buying cycle, build pipelines with buyers who are expressing intent in solutions like yours, get in the door before your competition, and monitor accounts for activities that indicate buying signals. To begin my walkthrough of DNB Buyer Intent, I'm going to show how the personalized intent models that have been activated in DNB Hoovers for my company can be used to prioritize in-market buyers when prospecting and building lists of target accounts. To start, I'm going to navigate to the Search and Build a List menu, and I'll select Companies. From here, I'll navigate to the Buying Intent filter category, which is available on my account when this service is added to my DNB Hoovers subscription. The Buyer Intent category features two filters, Intent Model and Buying Stage. The Intent Model filter allows me to apply one or multiple personalized intent models to strategically target a set of prospects who are expressing interest in my product or service. When I open this filter, I have access to the 4 personalized models that have been created for the specific products and services that my company sells. The buying stage filter gives me the option of filtering companies in the buying or researching stage, which provides me with visibility into where each prospect is in the buyer's journey and a better understanding of how to engage with each prospect. Before I dive into list building with intent, let me take a minute to explain how DNB Buyer Intent works. Buyer Intent provides clients with the ability to find targeted intent audiences based on a personalized list of keywords or phrases that they provide to Dun Bradstreet. Using these keywords, our analytics team creates a personalized model that combs through billions of digital events and leverages natural language processing, deep learning, and proprietary analytics models to pinpoint targets. These buyer intent targets are then classified by buying stage and automatically delivered to DNB Hoovers each week. To begin building my list with DNB Buyer Intent, I'm going to use the Intent Model filter to apply my financial service and cloud software models as search criteria. I'll also use the buying stage filter and apply buying as search criteria. With these filters applied, my search results will target all companies expressing intent in these specific models who are exhibiting online activity that indicates the majority of content they're viewing is related to buying. Once I've successfully entered this criteria, I'll click the View Results button to see the companies that match my search. Here I can see all of the companies that are expressing intent in the 2 models I selected who are also identified as exhibiting buying behavior. My search results contain intent badges that identify any time a company in DNB Hoovers is expressing intent in one of the products or services I sell that are covered by my custom DNB Buyer Intent models. Each of my results will feature a buying badge that identifies the specific models that were applied to the search, and they'll also identify any other intent behavior we've detected for a specific company, so I have full visibility into the true opportunity that exists for each of my search results. As an example, I see both a buying and researching intent badge on the Amazon search card. That's because we've detected that they're expressing intent in multiple models that I have activated on my account. If I move my cursor over the available intent badges, a hover will display that details the specific models that align with the available buying or researching badges. Here I can see Amazon is expressing buying intent in consulting services and cloud software models, but they're also exhibiting research intent for my manufacturing custom model. Buyer intent badges can be found throughout DNB Hoovers on company profiles, within company search results as we see here, within lists and smart lists, and on company, list, or smart list desktop tiles. I'll call these out as I encounter them as I move through the remainder of the demo. Before I pivot away from this prospecting use case, I want to show you how you can apply additional DNB Hoovers search criteria to focus and target your results. To provide an example, I want to refine my current results to only include companies located in the state of New York. I can go to my search criteria panel and click Add Additional Criteria, which will relaunch my search form over my search results, and I'll use the state or province filter to enter New York as search criteria, and then I'll click the View Results button. And now I can see my refined set of results that are aligned to companies that are located in the state of New York. As a best practice, I'll also create a smart list for these companies, so my list automatically updates when new companies meet the search criteria, and so I also receive in-product and email notifications about these new intent opportunities. To do that, I'll click my Save as Smart List button. And I'll choose to pin this to my desktop so I have quick access to it anytime I log into DNB Hoovers. And I'll also choose to receive notifications for items in this smart list. When I've successfully made those settings, I'll click Add to create this smart list. And again, like we saw with the COVID impact example that we reviewed, anytime a new company meets the search criteria I've used here, it's going to automatically populate in my list and I'll receive in-product and email notifications about it. Now let me show you a few more places in DNB Hoovers where the intent badges we reviewed are available. To begin, I'll navigate to the company record for Citigroup. where I can see at the top of the record I have an available buying intent badge. When I hover over the badge, I can see that they're expressing intent in my financial service DNB Buyer Intent model. Lastly, I'll navigate to my DNB Hoovers desktop, which will also provide intent badges. To do this, I'll select the desktop option on my menu bar. On my desktop, I can see available intent badges for company, list, and smart list desktop tiles. Lists will contain an aggregate count, so I have a sense of how many companies in the list are expressing intent. When I hover over the intent badge for a specific company, I can see the specific model where they're expressing intent in either buying and researching. This concludes my demonstration. I appreciate your time and thank you very much for joining us today.
Joining us for those list of enhancements that we've made to the DNB Hoovers product over the course of 2020. With that coverage completed, we will transition now to the Q&A portion of the presentation to address any questions you may have about the new enhancements we've made or about the product in general. For everyone that has joined the presentation today, you qualify for a complimentary intent reach report to see accounts that might be engaged in the buying cycle. So be sure to visit the link provided on your screen today to take advantage of that or reach out to us if you're interested. Additionally, we're offering free trials of the Hoovers platform. If any of the products or capabilities look interesting to you, be sure to reach out to your Hoovers representative or reach out to us. So with that, we'll transition to questions and answers.
Okay, so I'm seeing a first question here that says, how do I know if the prospect is looking to buy my specific product or showing buying intent in my industry? Anyway, focus on my products we offer and sell. So the way that the intent model works is we actually take a look at the list of key phrases and topics that are related to your products. So it's a completely custom model. So we work with you to gather hundreds and hundreds of keywords that relate to your specific product, and we build a model around that. So the models are sort of pre-configured to display intent and signals relating to your products. Hopefully that answers that question. Let's see here. Second question says, can you provide the website where I can use this tool? So if you're referring to Hoovers, the link is on the screen, dnb.com/hooversfree. You can submit a request to get a free trial through that link. We also have the Email IQ plugin. If you were asking about that question, it's dnb.com/emailiq, and that's a free plugin that anyone on this call can download and take advantage of. I saw another question around Email IQ and whether it applies to Canadian users. That's a good question. We actually do not provide contact level information in emails on Canadian emails because of the privacy regulations in Canada. But the tool will still work for company information. So if you get if you get an email from someone in Canada, we will give the company level information of that sender to give you some information about that, but we do not provide any emails on the Canadian contacts due to privacy regulations. Hopefully it takes care of that question. Let's see. I have another one here about the initial trends that we spoke about, right? So we took a look at when were some of the peak email open times. It was around 10 a.m., right? Shifting back an hour from 11 a.m. So people getting an earlier start to their day, probably because of remote work and not having to commute. Is there any good time of the week or day of the week that's better than actually others? And actually looking at some of our campaign data and sends, we see the peak email open rates being on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So people probably getting starting their week off are pretty busy, and also winding down for the day on Friday, probably not ideal. So we find that Tuesdays and Thursdays are the best times to send emails, and you'll see the most engagement on those days. That one's also answered. This next one, I think, Phil, if you can help with this one. It says, will the fire triggers be available in an exportable and column form?
Sure, thanks, Dennis. So triggers are not an exportable asset in DNB Hoovers, but they are available in the triggers report I demonstrated. They're also available within in-product notifications. They'll come to users in email notifications, and within the application, the user has the ability to navigate out to the full story where the trigger was, or the full document where we were able to detect the actual trigger.
Okay, great. Thank you, Phil. I got a follow-up question from one of our attendees. So if I, to try intent, do I get to submit the keywords? The answer is yes. So we will work with you to capture all the keywords around your products. We can build different models around different products. So it's totally flexible in that regard. So hopefully that answers that question. I'm seeing another one here that says, does the COVID impact index show effects for small businesses as well? The answer is absolutely yes. Hoovers actually has around 30 million small businesses in the US that are under $10 million in revenue. That's how we define small business. So about 29 million of those have the COVID impact score associated with them. So a vast majority of them will have that COVID impact index associated with them. Let's see here. Another one here that says, is there a way for me to see financial risk impact for businesses? Yes, so the COVID index actually has a financial impact category specifically. So if you want to take a look at, financial impact within your accounts, that's something that's searchable on. We also have something called a pre-screen score, which predicts the likelihood that a business will miss its payment obligations. So they're 90 days plus past due a payment obligation to a vendor or a supplier. And we take that as a signal that this company is in financial stress, and you can use that to prioritize based on financial risk at your target accounts. Okay. Does Hoovers provide access to company org charts? Is another question I'm seeing here. Yes, we have something called Crush reports that contain organizational charts you can view, and it will show you that hierarchy. We also have something called the contact decision matrix. So when you're on the company profile, you can click on contact decision matrix, and that will give you intelligence on different contacts within different functional levels within an organization. So that's also available for you. Another question here, there are many sales intelligence tools out there that offer data. How is Hoovers any different? Good question. Certainly are other tools that do similar capabilities. I would say what sets Hoovers apart is certainly the global coverage of the data on both the companies and the contact side, and also the ability to embed unique analytics. So we covered one of them today. COVID index is certainly one of them that's proprietary to Dun Bradstreet and assesses that impact based on that pandemic. We also have other unique and proprietary analytics within the product that will actually tell you buying authority within a location. So it's really important when you're obviously prospecting and qualifying your leads that they have the budget, they have the authority, and they're in market, and that they're in the right time frame to make a decision, right? So we're able to actually pinpoint specific locations where we've seen buying and selling activity, and we'll mark that within a corporate family tree for you to prioritize your prospecting efforts and time on. Another unique differentiator for Hoovers is the ability to give you that granularity of the different locations tied to an account, right? So, Geico being mapped to Berkshire Hathaway and all the other subsidiaries and locations. We have all that mapped for you, so you can actually, upsell, cross-sell, and go in within your accounts and find different buying centers to sell into. So those are just a few, but I would say the data depth, the coverage, the ability to segment by unique analytics, and also the digital signals with intent is unique as well to DNB Hoovers. So hopefully that gives a couple differentiators of the product versus others. Here. Positive shout out here. We love the integration with Salesforce. Find it extremely useful. Thank you. Thank you for the shout out. And actually, the intent add-on now also displays within the integrated Salesforce experience. So if you subscribe to intent, you will see some of those buying, researching tags that Phil was walking through right within Salesforce. So you don't have to leave that tool and go back into Hoovers. So just a quick FYI there. Let's see. What is the cost for the buyer intent module? Is another question. So we price it based on per model. So the more models you have, the cost per model goes down. You can reach out to your account representative for quoting because there are different thresholds and different price gains you can get by subscribing to more modules. Let's see here. How often do you update your data? Phil, do you want to take this one? You're probably closer to the supply chain and how often the data is refreshed within the product.
Sure. The data, core company and contact data within DNB Hoovers is refreshed on a weekly basis. News that's coming into the product as well as trigger alerts are near real time. We get them in real time, but we do have some value add processing, which adds a few seconds to their availability. A lot of our reports, market research reports, analyst reports, and that content spans a different time frame. Market research reports are monthly. Analyst reports are daily.
Great, thank you, Phil. There's another one here from a user that says, I haven't used Hoovers in a while. However, in the past, I could dive down deeply to only see prospects in my industry or buying products that my industry provides, assuming that is all still the same. Sorry for the basic question.
So in DNB Hoovers, you can, by Dun's number, take a deep dive down into company-specific reports, contacts, a whole range of information that maps to that company. If you haven't used Hoovers in a while, the core assets that you were exposed to previously are still available within the product, and we've added a whole range of additional content and data as we've stood up DNB Hoovers and brought a whole range of new assets to the application.
Thanks, Phil. Another question here that says, you suggest emailing early in the day or before targets get busy. You also have to gauge intrusiveness during this time, don't you think? Yeah, that's a valid point, right? I mean, I can only explain from my own experience that typically I start my day by clearing out my inbox early in the morning before the meeting craziness starts, and it's really hard to react to and give emails the attention they deserve during the day. So I think you're doing yourself a favor if you're sort of first in the inbox. Another time where at least I'm most responsive. Again, I'm a marketing professional, so you might be targeting a different title, but is actually very late in the day, right? So after work ends, going through the email inbox and clearing that. So I think just avoiding some of that craziness right around midday is probably better. So earlier the better is what we've seen in the data. But I think you bring up a good point in terms of intrusiveness and not being a pest, so to speak, right? Let's see. Can you name the 5 impact areas? I missed one. Oh, so I think this refers to the COVID impact index. Phil, do you want to take that one?
Sure. The 5 areas are financial impact, industry impact, location impact, and then we have 2 categories that have to do with the network or the supply chain. One is the overall impact to the company without network effects or without supply chain considered, and then that 5th is overall impact considering network effects or supply chain.
Thank you, Phil. See, I see another question here. It's about contact lists. So it says, when building contact lists, the records I've selected do not always provide contact phone numbers. Is there something I should be doing differently in order to view more detailed contact information? Also, what resources do you recommend for learning more about the Hoovers product?
So when list building, not all of the contacts that you'll find in lists have a direct dial phone number. We do strive to get as many of those as we can, validated and brought into the product. Wherever we have them, they will be available. In terms of learning more about the product, There's a couple of different options. One, there is a customer learning portal at DNB where you would be able to access a range of on-demand information as well as sign up for live training courses. DNB Hoovers also has a companion site that we call our support portal, which is available within your help menu right within DNB Hoovers. There you'll be able to find a wealth of information on features and content available within the product, as well as a running stream of product enhancements that have happened month to month.
Thank you, Phil. There's another one here around reflecting employee counts. So maybe we can talk a little bit about that enhancement that we've made. But the question says, how often are the companies listed in DNB updated to reflect current employees and their information, their contact information? So maybe giving a little bit more about the actual versus modeled and how we update those would be useful.
Sure. So as I mentioned previously, we update company information on a weekly basis. The content team at Dun Bradstreet is constantly consuming a wide range of information on a daily basis, where we're sourcing all of the information that you find in the application, including employee figures. In terms of the actual versus modeled reliability codes I walked through, those again are available on employee figures for all sites and this site level figures. And we will identify if the figure that we have is an actual value that's sourced from official documentation, or if it is a modeled figure. Very similar approach on the sales side, where again, the content organization and the team that drives our supply chain is consuming a wide range of information that we're sourcing from local, state, federal, and we also present that in actual versus modeled. That granularity is available if you look at the reliability code.
Thank you, Phil, and thank you everyone for all your thoughtful questions. Really appreciate it. If we didn't get to it, we'll certainly try to follow up with you on those. I'm going to take one more, and then we'll wrap up for the day. It says, where can I find out if I have subscription to this tool? And I will say that you can if you don't know the name of your account manager, the easiest way is just to go to dnb.com/hooversfree and just submit a request. If you're already a customer, it'll route you to your account representative. If you're not, you'll get a chance to try out the product for free. And also, don't forget, if you're on the webinar today, you can go to dnb.com/intent to get a free digital intent reach report. And also, everyone on the call can go to dnb.com/emailiq to get a free plugin if you're using Microsoft Outlook, and get 50 free contacts a month to prospect to. So thank you everyone for joining us. Hope you found this valuable. I saw a bunch of questions around, will we get the hard copy? Yes, absolutely. We will be following up with those shortly after the call. So thank you and have a great day.